Shalom, my friends. We're going to be streaming. We're going to be having a conversation. It is going to be on Second Kings chapter 5. Yeah, that's right. I've dropped the link. You got 5 minutes to find your way here. I will be I'll be sharing my own Bible, so you don't even have to bring your Bible, okay? You can if you want to, you don't have to if you don't want to. But either way, we're going to be on the wrong one. We are going to be back in 5 minutes, so that's the time that you have to figure yourself out. Okay, figure it out, guys. Figure it out. There. Hello, everyone. Look
Hello.
at look at this
I'll,
group of people.
I'll show my face for two reasons. First, so you know I'm not a porn bomber, and two, because I wanted to show off my new haircut.
It's nice. It's nice, Kirk. Thank you for joining us and for not being explicit material. Um,
I actually did have some questions for Yosef,
No, no,
but I
no.
don't know.
Okay, Kirk, I'm not going to be here most of this Bible study, but I can't not come for Naaman. I definitely have a couple things to say before I have to leave. We will talk separately, though. Okay.
Okay.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love this dynamic. Cassandra, we're so happy that you're sick. I'm so sorry that you're sick. Thank you for coming. Um, Yosef, are you sick? Why are you home?
Worse. So my grandfather died this week, so we're in
Oh,
Shiva.
that's right.
So I am
That's
off
right.
of work for now, and I am going to. That's where I'm not staying the whole time. I have to head over back to my grandma's house in about probably half an hour, 20 minutes. But I will be here for as long as I can.
Thank you for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Sorry that you're going through this right now, my friend.
Thanks.
Cassandra, a lot of people are glad that you're here.
Yes, Sandra back.
People are sorry for you as well, Yosef. We're going to get into the text. This is such a great little passage. If at any point, Yosef, you have to leave and you want to give us a wisdom smoke bomb and then just disappear,
Well,
you're allowed to do that, okay?
So before we start, we have to give the backstory.
Okay, go.
So you want to introduce what the chapter is about, like first, so people, not everyone knows the Naaman chapter.
Yeah, Naaman is a foreigner. He's ahead essentially of the people that are looting Israel, but he is a leper, and he is told by a Hebrew slave that there is a prophet who could, well, there's a God in Israel that could heal him, and sends him to Elisha to be healed. Elisha kind of doesn't even meet the guy at the door. Says, "Go, you could just dip yourself in the Jordan a couple of times, and you'll be your flesh will be like a new child." And he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go. Well, sorry. At first, he rejects it. Then someone says, "Look, if he told you to do something hard, you would have done that. So do the easy thing." He does it, and he's healed. He offers to pay the prophet a bunch of money. The prophet refuses. But then he takes a bunch of dirt with him so that he could always pray on Israeli soil. And then the prophet's assistant Gehazi says, you know what? He changed his mind about getting paid for it. And so then Gehazi is punished with having leprosy himself.
Great. Okay. So who is Naaman? So this chapter, we just says Naaman is the what do you want to call him? The chief of staff, or the head of the army, right, of Aram, right, of the Arameans. This is a kingdom north of Israel, right, north of the northern kingdom of Israel.
Yeah.
Mostly centered around what is now Syria, like southern Syria. So the areas, if you think about Damascus and Aleppo, those are the Aramean areas, the Aramean kingdoms.
Yeah.
Now, the important part is midrashically, he has a background. We don't just meet him for the first time here. He, in fact, is an important person. The last time they were at war with the Arameans in 1 Kings 22. So if you want to, could you actually bring that up first? I know you have the other one probably ready, but if you bring 1 Kings 22, like verse, I don't know, like starting from verse 30, 29 or 30 in there.
Okay. I'll bring that up. First Kings 22. Okay. Let me. Oh. Show this instead. Okay. Where did you say you wanted it at? 30?
Around, yeah, there's probably a section break right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of those rare times when the northern and southern kingdom are working together. the beginning of chapter 22, there was peace for 3 years between Aram and Israel. They had been kind of skirmishing before that, and then they go into all that war. And the two kingdoms finally reunite for the first time since being under Saul. Not as like one political entity, but like at least as allies. So there's this like complicated plot. We went back, if anyone who hasn't joined us for Bible study before, I know this Bible study got a plug directly on Grimm's live stream, so there's probably more people here than usual.
So nice.
Go back to, like, I don't know, 10 weeks ago or whatever it was. We covered this chapter in detail. But the important part here is you have the two kings and of Israel and Judah, and they're going out to fight the Arameans, and the Arameans like realize like it was a fake, like they think that someone who's coming toward them is the king of Israel, and they're going out to meet him, and they realize it's a fake out, so they retreat. But there's this in verse 34 there, so your translation is kind of funny. It's just like a man. In Hebrew, just a man. A man drew his bow. And so you have it at random. So the Hebrew is latumo, which is more kind of like in his like not being fully like cognizant, like in his naivete or his innocence or his like basically, his fingers like twitching on the trigger, or on the bowstring or the drawstring.
You kind of get this image that he just shoots in the air for no reason at no point, like not even at anyone, and it just flies, gets taken by the wind, and kills the king.
Yeah, and it happens to land exactly in the space between the king's armor, right? And he dies. Yeah. So in the Midrash, this man, and there's a number of clues why the rabbis connect this story, is Naaman. So Naaman is the guy who killed the king of Israel by accident, because God kind of directed the arrow to, fulfill the prophecy of how this king's going to die. But because of that, he is elevated to become eventually the chief of staff of the Arameans. That's how his career kind of starts, from being a random archer to becoming the head of the army. In that section in 22, there's these other clues where just like our chapter, they're going to have a lot of interplay and punning around the use of like little or small and big, right? So katon vegadol, we have that here, where we have the big man. Last week we had the big woman, now we have the big man. We have the small girl. Yeah, and in that chapter too, they also had like a lot of stress on that theme of big and small. There's a couple other places where there's like literary connections. So the rabbis connect it and say that's him. And Naaman should never have been the head of the army. He wasn't special. He wasn't especially skilled. Like it wasn't that like God gave him like certain virtues of bravery or courage or skill at arms. It was like sort of by accident that he ended up being like, God directed it. It's not like a real accident, but like it wasn't because of anything in him that he deserved to be in this position and become this great man. So even though he is a great man, and this whole chapter and now in 2 Kings 5 is going to be about the humbling of Naaman, because essentially like he thought that he was just a really good archer, and he was so good that he hit the king. But no, like it says, like he didn't mean to do it. Like the text is explicit that he didn't mean to do it.
That's an interesting connection. Yeah, from the text itself, if all we had was 1st and 2nd Kings, it's a little. You just assume that he is someone of high, that he's good at his job. You get a sense.
Except that the first sentence, at least in the Hebrew, is already making you question that. So it says, you have this the Tzatzava, the head of the commander of the army. He's a great man, lifnei adonav. He's a great man before his masters, right? So not actually that he's a great man, but like they think of him as a great man. Unasufanim. So usually this word is. It will be nasefanim or nasafanim. It's very rare that we have this construct. This means this is a passive version of the verb, so that they elevated his head, not that he was elevated or became elevated or was worthy of elevation. Like no, like this is his masters like are elevating him, and before them he is understood to be a great man, but it is very, very narrow, and his unearned reputation is already kind of being pushed at in this sentence. And there's all these clues to it. Also, the fact is that it says, through him, God gave salvation to Aram. So, right. Like, one, God is getting the credit, because the author of Kings is telling you, like, this is not because Aram did anything. Like, God is causing this to happen. So there's all these clues that, like, he does not deserve this position, whether you believe in the midrash or not. Like they're picking up on a lot of the subtext.
Okay, let's jump into the text so that if people have not been following, I think this is a good little contained story. Despite all it helps to have these other references. I think this is a great episode all the way through. So Cassandra, could you read the first paragraph? Yes, Kirk, you will read the second paragraph.
Okay. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and in high favor, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. Now the Syrians on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "Would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria. He would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his Lord, "Thus and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel." And the king of Syria said, "Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel."
Okay, so the first thing that pops up to me is you have these high stakes players who essentially are famous people, and then you have this little girl who is without a name, and she's the one who gets the whole story moving.
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, there's a change in translation here. It does not, in the Hebrew, it's not "were with." They've removed the word. They've removed the verb, actually, which is if only he would like plead or entreat my master to the prophet who's in Shomron. So she doesn't want him to just go to him and just like hang out. She wants him to humble himself, right? To pray to him or to plead to him. Which is a much stronger.
She's asking her master to call someone else master. That's like a way of thinking of it.
She's also saying that my actual master is not this guy; it's the prophet, right? She's not. Right. She's a sort of. Actually, this gets to the grim stream about which hierarchy are you in, and like if you're captured or if you lose a war, like that means you're submitting to someone else's hierarchy. Well, no, actually, this girl is exactly not that. This girl is someone who kind of is not. She's not only refusing to participate in the hierarchy she finds herself in, but she like has the audacity, the nerve, I don't know, whatever, to kind of like give advice, right? She's this little girl giving advice to the great man, right? And the text is contrasting them very explicitly. It says he's a big guy, right? Ish gadol, big man, rakatana, little girl.
Well, in some places, the wording used of Naaman is sometimes used to imply being a giant, depending on what tradition. So I know that those passages are wildly debated, but either way, it's the great man versus the little girl, right? And him being sent off by her. Do you get a sense? And I don't know, like the Midrash would make this explicit. It doesn't seem explicit in the text. Does she like her master? Is that why she sends him?
Why does she send him? I mean,
yeah, she wants to help, or does she want him to humble himself?
No, I mean, those aren't necessarily not the same thing.
Yeah.
Helping him might be humbling him.
Yeah.
That is clearly what the text is going to push.
Yes. Well, and okay, while I have you here, there's an idea when we get to the baptism, the form of mikvah or Jewish baptism, like it's not a sprinkle some water on your head, which if you're looking at images, you sometimes have. The Jewish form of baptism, unless I'm mistaken, is you're in the water and you bend the knees and you put the head forward.
Don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. It's mostly a function of how deep the water is. Right. The water has to be minimally enough water to cover one whole adult human body. It's 40. I don't remember how many liters that is. But usually the baths are not like really big enough. So usually that means you do need to, bend your knees or whatever. But you don't have to. I mean, there's no reason. That's not.
But the Jordan River itself, at certain seasons, at certain places, is not.
Well, that's
not the Mississippi.
It used to be much bigger. It used to be significantly bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely deep enough to cover a whole person. I don't know all the times of year. maybe in the summer.
depending.
Yeah, you might be right that there's sometimes the year wasn't, but like
Right.
I don't think we necessarily have to assume that he's like bending his knees in the river. I mean, he's clearly ducking in. Also, like you're completely right. Not only you're not sprinkling, you're completely naked. You can't wear anything. It's a full submersion. Yeah.
And a humbling, a great humbling, bowing. Like the reason why I consider the possibility of the bowing is it would emphasize the submission.
Yeah, but I think it's also more like birth, right? He's about to come out naked from the womb. Like that's why his skin will be like that of a child. We're not there yet, but you're going to get there in a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If he's going from Israel to Syria, he might be crossing the river north of the Lake of Galilee. And there was the river there is definitely wide enough to immerse several people, not as it is in the south. Yosef, I have a question. Twice we read the term the land of Israel. Is it often that it is referred to as the land of Israel, either the girl from Israel or the Israelite or the Hebrew girl or whatever?
No, this is an exception. We don't usually see such an explicit, like usually it's like someone from a village, but here it's like the girl of the land of Israel, which is like a very formal title almost for a little girl, which is kind of the irony.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not Jewish.
Oh, it seems like she is. I mean, certainly she understands the prophet to be her master, and there is no word for Jewish yet, so I'm not sure what. They capture her from the Jews. She's from the land. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see how she isn't Jewish.
So, but it means that they regard it as a territory rather than a nation.
That's a good question. I mean, from the land. I mean, I don't know because the Egyptians use the same phrase, and they kind of It's a well, because I guess. Yeah, it's a territory more than a nation.
So they have a claim on the land.
Yes, they definitely have a claim to the land. There's also like it's going to be super important for the end of the chapter when he takes the dirt of the land. So they're very fixated. The Arameans are very fixated on land and its power and what it means. So I think they also might just be stressing it. Yes, Israel means the northern kingdom in this period. Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I'd love to continue on. Kirk, or unless, Cassandra, do you have anything that you would like to add? Awesome. Kirk, read us this paragraph, please.
So he went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you Naaman, my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy." And when the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God, to kill and to make alive, that this man sends words to me to cure man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me."
I love this.
Yeah, so he's quoting Jacob here in Genesis when Rachel comes to Jacob. Rachel's also an Aramean, remember? And she comes to Jacob and blames him for her infertility. And like, why don't give me a son? And he says, "Am I in place of God?" And like, so so here it's the same thing, right? You have an sort of, I mean, Rachel's interesting because she's like Aramean, not Aramean, but like she's in this in between state. Where you're repeating the scene again.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Kirk.
This kind of reminds me of the Yom Kippur liturgy or Rosh Hashanah liturgy. I'm pretty sure somewhere in the High Holidays liturgy, doesn't this talk about how God decides who shall live and who shall die or something like that? I don't know if that's related here.
Yeah, that's one of right. Like this is clearly only something within God's realm.
But more than that, to relate it to the fertility, like you were talking about how it speaks of his flesh being like the flesh of a child, and in all the rabbinic literature that we have, they compare like a mikvah to being like the grave and like birth, that it is a dying to one life and birth to a new life. So to connect
Well,
it with the
they
conception.
don't call it dying to one life. That's a very Christian way to read it, but yes.
I've read some Orthodox material that spoke of it in those terms.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Another boring comment. It says 6,000 shekels of gold. In the Hebrew, it doesn't mention the word shekel, just 6,000 gold. And I wonder what the unit of measurement is. But I would accept that 6,000 something of gold will be much more expensive than 10 something of silver, unless you were talking about little grains of gold that can hardly measure. My conclusion is that, as usual, the word thousand is mistranslated. I think it's the third time we come across the word elef as meaning 1,000 when it doesn't make sense in the count. So we said earlier that what we now translated 1,000 may just mean a flock or a group of.
Right. As you're talking about it, I'm thinking of the image of a chest full of gold and jewels and stuff like that. No one's counting that, right? It's just like if you fill up the chest, that's one unit of that you could have referred to. Shalom Chezi. Okay, so he goes and his plan is to pay, to give money for the service, like going to a doctor. This is, yes, it is a beautiful Noahide chapter. He's thinking he's going to go. He doesn't have insurance. He goes with the money. He's going to pay for the prophet to heal him.
This is too expensive for doctor visit. 6,000 shekels of gold and silver and 10. This is too steep.
Yeah.
What is paying for is safe conduct, because they've been raiding the country and they're in a state of war. He's paying for the safe conduct.
Yeah, we also don't get a direct illustration of what the leprosy looks like for him, because leprosy covers a variety of skin conditions in the biblical text. So we just know that he's a leper, whatever that means. Okay. Cassandra, will you take over?
Okay. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent to the king, saying, "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman was angry and went away, saying, "Behold, I thought he would surely come out to me, stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?"
Okay, let's pause a second there. I'm sorry. I find this so funny. I love, and you were kind of laughing as you were reading it too. I like that he says, couldn't he I thought he was going to wave his hand or something, right? He's going to stand, call on the name of Hashem, wave his hand, do do some sort of a weird ritual, abracadabra, and then everything would be good. We didn't mention this. I like that the king is he's trying to cause trouble. What was the line right before? Only consider and see how he is seeking to quarrel with me. So, we're not going to be able to do this. What does this guy really want? Right? What does he expect from me? So the king is not on board. And it's Elisha just sends word, does not come to the door, and Naaman is pissed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there are waters in the world that are known as like the lifebloods of countries, of places, and are known for their healing properties. And to this guy, he's just like, you brought me to this creek. Like, I'm not. You said go take a bath in our creek is what you want me to do. I understand Yosef is saying, or Yoav, I think it was you who was saying in the north it can be quite wide. I'm just wondering about season and wondering about, compared to what this guy, a traveler of the world, might expect, how
No,
impressed he is.
it still would have been called a stream in Europe or in America. It would never be called a river
Right.
at any period.
Okay, yeah. So go wash in the creek, and he says, "What? Why?"
He's expecting much more of a show.
Yeah, I paid for fireworks. I brought 10 changes of clothing. I love that in the ancient world, because like clothing was super expensive. It's a lot of gold and also a couple of changes of clothes.
Comment about the character of prophets. When we were reading about Elijah, he was quite an autistic guy, hardly communicated with, didn't want to have to do with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have his, Elijah was already supposed to be an improvement. He's supposed to be sort of the normal one with the father and the mother and calling the village for a feast. And then we see in the earlier story, in the last chapter with the woman, and here, he's turning into a hermit as well. I think it's tough. Communicating with God on the one hand and with people on the other hand might be a very tall order, which makes me appreciate Moses, that never lost touch with these people. And even he needed his brother to be with him in order to fulfill the task.
But I feel this is part of the interpretation of the passage, where the passage wants Naaman to be embarrassed or humiliated. It's trying to bring him down. And so it's like you only get to interact with the secretary. He's too busy to talk to you.
We see it early. This is why we have the earlier story with the woman. The woman has not done nothing wrong. She was humble. She said, within my people I am sitting. It's his character.
Yeah.
Which is a tool for humiliating Naaman as well. But it's always a tool. But that's the kind of guy he is.
Right. It's interesting. He's not holding back. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Cassandra.
No, I was thinking, because thinking of the other prophets, I feel like we see them go much more to the king in the previous stories, and here he just does messengers.
Mm-hmm. Something good.
That's interesting to think about.
I don't know if you guys have seen A Serious Man. It's a Coen Brothers movie. It's very rabbinic. Kirk, you would love it.
I've seen that movie.
Okay, so the scene that I'm thinking of is this guy is having like a total breakdown of his life. And so he's trying to talk to the head rabbi, but the head rabbi is very busy, he's told. And one day he shows up to the synagogue, and you can see inside the office, the rabbi is just sitting at his desk, like in his doing nothing, right? And the guy is pleading with the secretary. The woman walks in, talks to the rabbi, comes back out and says, the rabbi is busy. He says, he doesn't look busy. She just says, he's thinking, right? And the guy is just so frustrated and upset. But I get this image where it's like, can't I talk to him? No, you can't. You can only talk to the secretary. He doesn't have time for you. It's like, did you tell him that it was the head of the army who killed the previous king, who pulled off people who stole people and was a very scary guy with a big pointy stick? Did you tell him that? Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about, like, sometimes if you're having a lot of trouble with your computer, nothing's working, you can't figure out what the problem is, and then the IT guy comes in and just turns it on and off, and it's It's like everything's fine. It solved everything. It's like something deflating about it because the answer was so simple.
Yeah.
But you want something like, no, something's actually wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm going to fix it in a way that's going to humiliate you. Right? Yeah. Well, I wonder to what extent the passage is interested in justice, where this guy has to. He stole people from Israel, right? This little girl is war booty. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think we were here. Cassandra, could you finish just this section because you were in the middle of it? So he turned and went away in rage.
Right. So he turned and went away in rage, but his servants came near and said to him, "My father, it is a great word the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he actually said to you, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean.
Like a little child. He's got skin like a baby. Which is beautiful. I love this though. Cassandra, did you ever read Brothers Karamazov? Seems like it might be your jam. Has anyone here besides me read Brothers Karamazov?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So part of the story is there's a brother who wants to advance in religion. Okay. He goes to the monastery. He wants to be something big and great. And the monk the monk is on his deathbed, tells his student, "This is what God wants you to do. Are you ready? Are you ready to know what God wants from him?" And he's like, "Yes." And this guy is ready to do anything. Like he's ready to die as a martyr. He's willing for anything. He says, "This is what God wants for you. Go back to your hometown, marry whatever girl you meet, raise a family there." And he's like, "What? No." Like, what? I want to do something big. Right. And you have this concept within Orthodox Christianity where there's martyrdom of the red and martyrdom of the white. And martyrdom of the red is the thing that everybody wants. They want a epic, incredible, difficult thing that they can present like, "Hey, check out how cool of a difficult thing I did." And martyrdom of the white is where you live your life for God, but no one even takes notice. Where it's a simple thing. And so this friend or servant, another servant, even refers to him as my father, right? Says, "It's a great word that the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he actually said to you, 'Wash and be clean'?" So it's, if he told you to do something hard, you would have done that. So why wouldn't you do something easy? That's good. Thank you, Wilson. Yeah, I can't verify if the brothers Karamazov broke Peterson. Either way, this is the presentation. You go take a bath. It's like, I have leprosy. You think I didn't try washing it off? Like, yeah, Cassandra, what you were saying. Turn the computer off and on. Do you know, Yoav, is the Jordan famous for anything worldwide? Like, I know the Dead Sea, it's got spas and all that kind of stuff. Is the Jordan known for anything like that?
Well, it's famous only for religious reasons.
Yeah.
And the sources of Jordan are famous for causing wars between the nations, quarreling for it.
Yeah.
But it's really not even, not much of a stream even.
Yep. See, Yosef left, and now you get to agree with me. Okay, that's good. That's very good.
I mean, it is famous for being for entertaining the earliest human civilization, going back much back before agriculture. It you cannot ask who were the original inhabitants of that valley. It goes too deep in time.
Yeah, but the reason why I bring it up is we know, for instance, certain places in the ancient world, like the Laodiceans, there's a letter that's written to them. It says, because I wish you were either hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. The area around it had hot springs that were world renowned for healing purposes. And right beside it, there was a nice source of fresh water. Whereas your lukewarm water that's like cats won't drink. That's why they have fountains for cats and everything else. Still water can be infectious, right? Or the area of Bath in England is called Bath because they had baths there, where they saw springs, where they see things that would be rejuvenating.
That's an interesting thought, because there are hot springs in the city of Tiberias, but this is on the lake shore, on the shores of Lake of Galilee. But geology changes. There could have been hot springs somewhere by the river at the time. It could have well be hot springs there.
Well,
it is the Syrian Rift.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if specifically it's supposed to be that they aren't there. That you specifically, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if you pick a spot, like if it wasn't in the text, if I'm just going by how I think God operates, it would be like a 3-foot wide creek that's dirty, that he has to be face down in just to be fully immersed in. Like, that seems to be the way that Hashem works, in my opinion.
But it's an interesting thought. There could have been hot springs that we don't know of at some point on the river sometime.
But either way, you're going to come to this place and you're going to use our messy little water in order to make yourself your skin like that of a newborn, a new flesh. Okay. Kirk, sorry. Cassandra, do you have anything else you want to say? Okay. Then Kirk, you are going to read.
Gehazi's greed and punishment. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. And he came and stood before him, and he said, Behold, I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel, so accept now a present from your servant. But he said, As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will save none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, If not, please let there be given to your servant 2 mule loads of oil. For from now on, your servant will not offer burnt offering or sacrifice to any god but the Lord. And
okay, let's pause. Let's pause 1 second, because this is so dense, right? We've talked about this before. That look at Naaman's conception of how God works. Gods are territorial spirits. Sometimes the term the shadim in Jewish thinking are sometimes thought of as territorial spirits, or Cassandra, you've definitely heard the term principalities, and that those things would oftentimes be tied to specific places. So how do you pray to the God of Israel if you're switching countries? Well, what you do is you load up some dirt from that country that God is tied to, and you pray there. There's a famous story in Canada where there's someone, a royal from the Netherlands, was visiting Canada, and she went into labor while she was in Canada, and so they immediately flew over earth, like dirt from the Netherlands, put it under her hospital bed, and the prime minister declared that room was sovereign territory belonging to the Netherlands, so that when the child was born, that they were that they were of the Netherlands for this reason, right? But you see this idea of like somehow the dirt is seen as, for lack of a better term, magical, right? The dirt carries some connection to the place itself, and if you're going to rule, there's a connection to the very ground itself that God is tied to. Does this connect? Does this make sense? And I'm sure this happens also, that there's tourists who go to Israel and take like a little jar of dirt, just to have a little bit of dirt that they say Jesus touched or something like that. Yeah, born on Dutch soil. That's good.
Do you think after she had the baby, they swept up the dirt and threw it away?
Well, it can't live in a hospital room. Like, you can't just keep it under a hospital bed. It's unreasonable.
No.
All I know for follow-up is that the Dutch would send a lot of tulips to Canada afterwards.
Right.
But I think that's also because we like liberated them or something in World War II. I gotta check my history. I'm sorry. But it makes sense. Does this make sense to you? Yeah, the dirt was repatriated.
Okay. For this line, when Naaman says, "If not, please give me the dirt." So
Yeah.
So I was wondering, I don't know if it's just like the way the translation. So Elisha won't take any payments, and so he says, "If not, please give me the dirt." Then I don't know, when his servant goes and gets stuff from Naaman, then what? I'm not sure if that's part of the agreement. It's the way it's written is kind of confusing to me.
Yeah. Well, and there's a follow-up bit that I think we should bring into this. Kurt, can you read from 17 to here? Because I think maybe this will give some clarity.
Then Naaman said, "If not, please let there be given to your servant 2 mule loads of earth, for from now on your servant will not offer burnt offering or sacrifice to any god but the Lord. In this matter, may the Lord pardon your servant. When my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, leaning on my arm, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon your servant in this matter." He said to him, "Go in peace."
So he's asked, Naaman is asking for dirt so that he can make like a little shrine to Hashem there, and is asking God to forgive him because he knows as part of his job he has to enter into a pagan shrine with the king. So I have to help him up. This is also what I mean, leading him on my arm. I don't think he has leprosy, because if he had leprosy, I can't imagine the king grabbing this leper's arm and leading him in. Like, I think it was something else. But either way, he's bringing him into the house of this god named Rimmon. And look at this. This is why Hezi was mentioning before that it's a Noahide passage, because and Jesus, in fact, uses this as an example that when God is healing a leper in this time period, there's lepers that are Israelites. Who does God heal though in this time? It's this foreigner that comes that humbles himself, this man is healed. And I don't know, he seems to be part of the story, part of God's kingdom, even though he's going to continue being in a pagan land, not really knowing who Hashem is. Is that still confusing, Sandra? You are muted. I don't know if you're talking.
No, I forgot about that last part. Yeah, I don't know. Now I think it's more interesting that he wants the dirt too, because I'm wondering how he's going to use it exactly.
Is he going to eat it? That'd be great.
Well, I was thinking, would he have a place where he would spread it out, or how would he use it? Or somehow, sometimes people carry like trinkets or like little charms on them. Like you're talking about, like having a vial of dirt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would do something like carry a little dirt of Israel around with him.
Yeah. So strange. Or does he have like a room in his house that's just like an Israeli room? And when you go there, it has like a dirt floor. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. Yeah.
what are your intentions with my dirt? Yeah.
I also think it's interesting he's kind of changing, at least the way we would see it now in our terms, changing religion.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm only going to pray to you. I don't know how to do that when I'm not in your land, though.
So the name of that god, Rimon in Hebrew, is a pomegranate. So it's a queer name for a god. But looking on Wikipedia, it is linked to an ancient Western Semitic word Ra'am, meaning thunder. So it's the god of thunder.
Which is basically Baal.
A variation, eh?
Yeah, of Baal, yeah. Two mule loads of earth too. It's a good amount. Because it's not the size of a trinket. It's a cart.
Yeah, but it's not a big cart because you have to climb from Samaria to the Golan Heights. You cannot load those two mules with too much earth.
Okay, Matt is asking a great question, which is he spreading it in the temple? It doesn't seem to be illustrating that. He's taking it, so he's saying that's his way of saying I'm going to be good to the God of Israel. In this matter, may the Lord pardon your servant. When my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, leaning on my arm, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon your servant in this matter. So he has to go in and he has to take the stance as though he's praying, but he's assuring Hashem that he's not praying. Please forgive me. I have to do this thing. I promise I'm not actually praying. Very interesting.
I wonder about this sickness because on one hand, it's obviously not infectious and it's not so disgusting so people will avoid you.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it's severe enough that you want to pay so much gold and so much silver and go through this trouble to get rid of it. Looks to me like allergy.
Could it be something? I'm trying to think what this might look like, right? Because it could be
eczema.
Oh, like his eczema feels like it's too small, right? But I have a friend. I've known people who had psoriasis. Is that the right one?
Yeah.
And that their skin bleeds. They just have like wounds like open wounds on their flesh as a result of this stuff, right? Like it's for some people, it's like a little bit of dry spots. But I've known like one of my good friends right now. He got a bone marrow transplant, and that's given him a new immune system. So he used to have psoriasis all over his body, and just sections of his body that were constantly like bleeding because of that. Yeah, must have had a bad experience with this old guy. Some of them, okay, so one of the interpretations that it's a dismiss, just get out of here, right? We have no commentary on, this is why it's so interesting. There's no commentary on whether or not it's approving of his actions. The man himself, the Jew in charge of this media conglomerate,
this vast empire of media.
Vast media empire. Sorry.
I am the next Ted Turner and Rupert Murdoch combined in one Jew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the reason I jumped on was because I wanted to point out. So Rabbi Schulman generally believes that Noachides should not be joined in any sort of religious community. But frankly, for most of the people I have spoken with, I have found that to be something that practically in their situation doesn't make for a viable lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And some of your guys, they go to church. Is that Rimon? Is that what you're saying?
No. So I actually spoke to a different rabbinic decisor, and obviously anyone is free to choose among their rabbinic decisors the one which they feel is most appropriate for them. And his response to the question of what should Noachides do in terms of community, since most of them can't go to synagogues, and even if they could, the synagogues tend to not really provide much community. His answer was to point me to this chapter, say, hey, there's Naaman, there is the prophet is clearly, and the person can take their instruction from the Bible directly. And what I have found is that many Noachides, especially those coming from a sort of Protestant Christian background, find this story to be a very good way of explaining how they can find themselves in a church full of idolaters and yet still turn their hearts towards the real God. So
it definitely shows God's openness.
I do send people to, there are in fact people going to Eastern Orthodox Christian churches who have read this chapter because I told them, here, read this chapter and go to that church. So it is what it is.
But we get no commentary within the chapter as to whether or not it actually is okay.
The prophet says, go in peace. Right? And while that can be understood in a couple of ways, the Jewish idea still remains something I think Christians could learn from, that your relationship with God is a direct relationship with God, and it doesn't matter what everyone else in the church thinks or what everyone else in the world thinks, or even what the prophets think. Because ultimately the question becomes, what's your relationship with God? And I can't imagine that Naaman understood the prophets. This was Elisha or Elijah?
Elisha.
Oh,
Shah, not Yah.
yeah, Elisha. So my grandfather's name was Elisha. But Elisha, he says go in peace, and that's what Naaman had there. So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
The office asks, what is the point of going over these dumb stories over again when the issue here is idolatry? Answer. The issue here is definitely not idolatry, because nobody expected the Aramean to worship. It was never required of them not to be idolatry. Therefore, the issue here is different. And in order to understand the issue, you have to read it over and over again. And maybe after a lifetime of reading, you might get some piece of wisdom.
Claire's more interested in being mad at her ex-husband than she is in actually engaging with Christians.
So within this text, though, as we're looking at this, this is Yanni. This is the right answer. It's fun, right, Yanni? That's such a good point. It's such a good point. But this idea, it's also interesting because God, he's not given an ultimatum. He doesn't say, if you do this, then God will cure you of your leprosy. It's just go wash yourself. Like, it's not you have to worship Hashem alone. Doesn't say anything like that. Just heals him. But he has to act out submission to the God of Israel, which is, you can see why he wouldn't want to do it. But all you have to do is just act out humility to the God of Israel, and you'll be healed. Right? No, does it anyway, gets healed. And I don't know what happens to the little girl, by the way, because this little girl that gets the story running, like gets the story moving, who's a slave in his household, we get no idea that this girl is set free.
I'm guessing there's a midrash somewhere saying she becomes a prophetess like Deborah or something.
Yeah.
They're all dead by now.
Yeah.
Quite likely.
Yoav, do not be distracted by people trying to distract you. Okay?
As Jon God said, it's fun.
Yes. But it's important. It's important that as things occur, that you don't acknowledge, okay, Yoav? Because, like in the Shakespearean idea, the fool is not someone who's an idiot. The fool is someone that makes you into an idiot, right? So if you see someone and you have reason to believe that they are a fool, don't engage.
Yeah, but she's not a fool.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part. Yeah. Yeah. People definitely underestimate Claire.
I know. I understand.
She's not nearly as dumb as she pretends to be.
Oh, I don't think she is. I think she's something else. And it's that something else that makes it so that I'm not interacting.
Aha. Yeah, something against Chinese spies? Well,
yeah.
I don't understand this chapter. I don't understand Claire. I don't understand Elijah. But that's why I'm here.
Again and again and again. Let's play this.
I understand Gehazi. I mean, he was just greedy.
Yeah. Gehazi is, yeah.
No, not only greedy. Like everybody else, completely misunderstanding God. And he said, okay, what is the game? I mean, the game here is to make the name of God great among the nations. I get it. Not great enough. If Naaman is now going to pay a lot of money, God will be greater even more.
Well, so Gehazi, it's like...
Let me serve God by making him pay more.
Well, and people are bringing... He already brought the money. He's offering. It's on the table. It's not like he has to go back and get it. It's like, it seems like a waste of money, doesn't it? Well, we're just going to let him bring it back and spend it all in Syria, so maybe he can buy a couple more slaves of our people. Like, it's a little bit understandable. And because it's understandable, let's go back to it. Cassandra, I think it's your turn. Your turn for reading. Let's go back to the text.
Okay. But when Naaman had gone from him a short distance, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, "See, my master has spared this Naaman the Syrian in not accepting from his hand what he brought. As the Lord lives, I will run after him and get something from him." So Gehazi followed Naaman, and when Naaman saw someone running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and said, "Is all well?" And he said, "All is well. My master has sent me."
Okay, sorry. We got to pause here for 1 second because there's a couple of echoes of previous things. Remember Gehazi running before? And the guy witnessing? It's Gehazi who sees the woman running from afar and says, "Oh, is everything okay?" Right? And it's like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine." So that image is like in his head. It's also that Naaman had gone a short distance. That to me is like Gehazi immediately thinks that this is a bad idea. Immediately is like, "What are you doing? This is dumb." Okay, I'll let it continue from there unless anyone has anything else to say.
Okay. And he said, "All is well. My master has sent me to say, there have just now come to me from the hill country of Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothing." And Naaman said, "Be pleased to accept 2 talents. And he urged him and tied up 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of clothing and laid them on 2 of his servants. And they carried them before Gehazi.
Okay. So again, sons of the prophets. So look, he didn't want stuff before, but we have the in-laws have just randomly jumped in, and so we now need it. Also, look at the title, the man of God. We've seen this before. The prophet, the man of God. There's certain titles that seem like they could be official positions, but we just don't have something that breaks it down in a simple, logical way of understanding it. Man of God, the prophet, the sons of the prophets. We can see all this stuff here, but he uses this as a way of seeing if he can get some money out of it. Anyone else want to say anything before we go on? So he does lie. I don't like that he lies. So I understand him, but he is also lying. Kirk, finish us off.
And they carried them before Gehazi.
When he came to the hill.
And when he came to the hill, he took them from their hand and put them in the house. And he sent the man away, and they departed. He went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said to him, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" And he said, "Your servant went nowhere." But he said to him, "Did not my heart go when the man turned from his chariot to meet you? Was it a time to accept money and garments, olive orchards and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male servants and female servants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you and to your descendants forever." So he went out from his presence a leper, like snow.
Like snow. This image again, like I don't know if you've ever had skin essentially die on you. Like I'm a dark fella, and it turns bright white when anything like that has happened. Okay.
What's going on? What vineyards and slaves? What is it talking about? Money, garments, and olive orchards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and male servant, and female servants. Well, this is fake news.
Well, I think it's like the idea of, are you going to become, like the prophet could essentially become a fortune teller that makes a lot of money, right? And he's not trying to be that kind of person.
Okay, so this is not the time to do such things, as if some other time would have been.
Okay, and I sorry, I have to say this to Yanni again. All the words for children are words that are used for servant. And now we switch them. So like the word maid in English originally referred to a female child. It's the same in basically every single old language, where any word for a young person was also a word for a slave or a servant. It doesn't mean that the people are actually children. It's not about, in some cases, is there some trafficking of children? Yes, there is. But these stories, it's referring to prestige, right? You get into a position of power, you hire you buy a couple of slaves, you hire a couple of servants, like if you were in a certain stage of aristocracy, you always wanted to have a butler, that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is a good point. Good question. God sees.
I like that line he says to him, "Did not my heart go when the man turned from his chariot to meet you?" What do you think that means, did my heart go?
That's sad. I find that very sad.
It sounds like he's been betrayed.
Yeah, it does.
Again, Elijah doesn't know people, cannot read people. That was his servant, and he never estimated his servant correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you betrayed me. It's also, Jacob, I don't know to what extent you've brought this forward in the text when you're talking to Noahides, but Gehazi, it seems to be a Jew. So you have the Jew actually gets the leprosy that was Naaman's.
Okay, so I'll try not to rant too much about the Christian understanding of chosenness and the elect. The entire idea that you could have salvation and not be able to lose it, that God chooses who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. It's just so foreign to paying attention to the Hebrew Bible, right? Because the entire, the story over and over again is this was the firstborn and he lost it, and this was the young child and he gained it, and over again you get this idea the Jews were supposed to X, Y, and Z, and they didn't, and the Gentiles were supposed to A, B, and C, and they didn't, right? And the entire story of Jonah, right, is very much that, right? The prophet, the Jewish prophet, is the one who's out not repenting, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, if you read the Hebrew Bible and think that Jewish religion can be Jewish supremacist, etc., you're just not paying attention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any comments? Anything they want to say on it? Kirk, I'd actually like to know your thoughts. I know that you always say, okay, I haven't really thought about this, but you identify as a Noahide, correct? Would you?
I identify as a Noahide, and I am a Noahide.
Okay. So tell me about how you like this passage or don't like it or
I
whatever.
mean, I would just second Jacob's point. Like, Jewish supremacy is not a real thing in the context of actual Judaism. It's not in the Bible. It's not in the Talmud. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have much more to say as in a second what Jacob was saying.
Thank you. Cool.
But have you guys marveled at how cute Lucky is?
It's a good, yeah.
Yeah, yummy. Exactly like a fried chicken.
Exactly like fried chicken. Yes.
Actually, because the word heart came in here, I don't know if you use this expression. I dated a girl who was Assyrian at one point, and they would use the expression, like she gave me an expression that was supposed to be affectionate, and it was holy liba, which is I want to eat your heart. Which is right.
In Persian, it's I want to eat your liver.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just yeah. I just like that you said like fried chicken. It does look. It does. That dog does look extremely breaded. I will say.
Doesn't he though?
Like, yeah, crispy breaded. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep on getting people saying that is a large piece of fried chicken you got.
Yeah. Lots of fun. Okay. I'm interested by the fact that this story is also standalone. And I wonder about the role that some of these stories played as Israel is in exile. To what extent?
Why is it standalone when just in the beginning Joseph connected it to the earlier story, and I connected it to the story of the woman?
Yeah, but it's connected through midrash, and there's like that's the most explicit connection is midrashic, which it's like the midrash connects everything to everything. All due respect to the midrash, but like, yeah. Okay, it's a big chiasm. I'm totally wrong. That's fine. Oh, sorry. That was you who said that. Yeah, Yanni says it's Zeus. What does this mean, guys? Cassandra, can you explain this to me?
Well, you have to understand what in conspiracy world the Victoria's Secret is. It's the secret of the Queen Victoria. It's something very naughty. I think they want to say a naughty smile.
Okay, fun. This is all I wanted to talk about. This was a wonderful chapter. Cassandra, again, I'm so happy that you were here. Kirk, Yoav, you guys are also welcome, but I'm especially happy that we actually got Jacob and Cassandra. See,
And Yosef in the beginning.
And Yosef in the beginning, yeah. I'm just like, what? What a special day.
I have 2 weeks of vacation, of which today is almost the last day. So I figured, why not?
Yep.
I just want to stress, I'm stunned by the way this section ended. Like Elisha said it's his second. Perhaps somebody who was intended to succeed him. You got it right, you didn't get the timing right. So what prophecy was he alluding to? It's a small door to a big world, but it's not to be discussed here.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Jacob, I believe you are having another conversation later today. You want to plug that right now for people to know about it?
I am. Ben and I on Thursdays in the evenings have been just doing just general looking through the Parsha type stuff. Ben basically leads it. We do a lot of Rashi's, a few Siftei Chachamim, for those people who know what that is. And yeah, so if you're interested in Parsha, we generally do it Thursdays at 7.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to call it there. I've had a good time. I'll see everyone later. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Be well. Go in peace.